Universal plunges you into a mystery at the speed of sound. Rollercoaster. An accident in California.
That's 2 accidents in 1 week. Who's putting the lid on this? The police?
A recording from a stranger.
Get on the ride, Harry.
A drop in Virginia.
Harry.
Yeah.
Remember what happens when you don't follow directions.
And a man in the middle on the ride of his life.
They're over the lift. It's too late to stop them now.
Let's go.
Rollercoaster.
Welcome to the Shabby Detective, yet another Columbo podcast. I'm your host, Mike White. Joining me, of course, is Mr. Chris Dashew.
If you don't want to get blown up on a roller coaster, just don't go on a roller coaster.
And joining us this time around is Mr. Richard Hatem.
I don't know who the hell I trust less, him or you.
On this episode, we are taking a little bit of a break from Columbo. We are looking at a movie that was co-written by Richard Levinson and William Link and Stanford Sheldon.
Yeah, I don't know how the credits got figured. I don't know who that guy is. I know who the Levinson and Link are. So we're just going to say it's a Levinson, because this thing reeks of Levinson and Link in a good way.
It was also a story by Tommy Cook, by the way. Story suggested by Tommy Cook. One guy was in the room and he's just, what would happen if you put a bomb on a roller coaster?
If I had to guess, I would guess that's almost on the level of a studio executive. Look, we got this Sensurround thing. We got to use it. What would be a good Sensurround? And then they said, we've done an earthquake. I know. Everybody, you sitting down? Roller coaster.
Because you have to be if you're riding a roller coaster.
That's right. Keep your hands and feet inside the car.
Rollercoaster was released June 10th, 1977. I missed the hype when it came to this movie. I came to this movie actually through another podcast, the Outside the Cinema podcast, which reviewed this years ago. I don't think they knew who Sparks were, and they were just so confused by the one guy's little Hitler stash. But they really enjoyed this and said it was way better than it had any business to be. And I completely agree with them. I watched this probably 10 years ago and just fell in love with it and really was super excited to talk about this one with you guys. And then Chris had a memory of Richard liking the movie, and I think that's probably the understatement of the century after listening to a recent episode of Richard Hatem's Paranormal Bookshelf, where he talked about his relationship with this film. So we'll definitely get there. But first, Chris, had you ever seen Rollercoaster before, and what did you think this time around, sir?
I'd never seen this before, but I had seen George Segal in a lot of stuff because you guys are going to like this. I absolutely love Just Shoot Me.
Nothing wrong with that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. So you're a George Segal fan.
Yeah, I like George Segal just fine. I like him on Just Shoot Me. Him and Enrico Colantoni, the bald guy. He's great. I love that show. So I knew nothing about this movie going into it. I didn't even realize he was in it. All I knew was that a young George Bush was trying to blow up roller coasters. Timothy Bottoms played George Bush in the seminal TV series from Comedy Central, That's My Bush. He was also in Last Picture Show. My jokes about the idea of the movie kind of being wonky aside, because we'll talk about the premise and the inherent pitfalls surrounding the premise. My biggest issue with this movie is the opening of the movie is really compelling. And then the rest of the movie never gets back to that level, because the opening of the movie is like a masterclass in suspense and how do you like really ratchet that tension up and really draw it out and draw it out and draw it out. Now no, is he going to blow it up? No, he's not blind. Okay, keep dragging it. I appreciated that, but then it starts getting like overly complicated, and then it just starts getting goofy, and then the climax of the movie, I found it to just be less exciting than they probably thought it was, is probably the nice way of putting it. So all in all, it definitely reeks of 70s disaster movie. That's for sure. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. Like, it has the hallmarks of a movie similar to you already mentioned it, but the other movies that were released in Sensurround, the obvious one being 74's Earthquake. I have a lot of affinity for Earthquake. I have a lot of affinity for Earthquake because my mom grew up in San Francisco. My mom was pregnant with me during the big earthquake in San Francisco in 89. So, like, I have an affinity for Earthquake and Sensurround as well as an idea. So I can understand, like you said, Mike, why they would be doing it, because I've always wanted to see Earthquake with that technology, because I'm sure it was wild. I don't think this lived up to that, but I can see as a kind of the Tingler level of gimmick, how do we take advantage of it? I guess the thing for me is a roller coaster really the best way to take advantage of this technology? Other than that, again, like my minor kind of initial quibbles, I get why you guys enjoy it. Is it my favorite disaster movie from the 70s? No. Is it a fun side tangent into a thing that, again, is a little less specifically a disaster movie and more kind of a thriller disaster movie? A disaster movie by way of Levinson and Link is really the way of putting it. Yes, and I think that might actually be the problem that the movie has, is it's not because it doesn't necessarily have all the disaster tropes. It feels like from time to time it is missing some stuff. And again, like the stakes in this are, for as high as they want to make the stakes sound, the stakes are low. Oh, it's just close the goddamn theme parks of it all. And there you go. I know that's a plot hole, and I'm sure, again, we'll talk about the premise, but I don't know. There were wonky bits, but overall, again, the George Segal of it all and the Timothy Bottom of it all, I enjoyed. Yeah, it wasn't the worst thing I've seen all year, that's for sure.
I think calling it a thriller is correct.
It drags when it should be thrilling.
I think it really falls into that disaster movie as far as the airport films, Earthquake, Towering Inferno, but then there's also elements, like you're saying, with the 4th of July, reminds me of Jaws and the pursuit of commerce, and just this whole idea of we can't close the park down because we're going to lose money. And it's really all about the older people that really want to keep their money flowing. And we should say before we carry on that this is a star-studded film. That was the thing when it came to the airport films or to Towering Inferno or any of those. Who can we get in this? And so with Henry Fonda, Richard Widmark, Susan Strasberg, just so many names that I'm familiar with, and great to see young Steve Guttenberg in his first role. Great to see a young Helen Hunt, but this was probably the first Craig Wasson role that was out there. So when he shows up, and then of course for me, I'm a huge fan of Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. So having another movie set at Magic Mountain was really exciting for me. And every time they showed group shots of the park getting ready, I was just like,
remember, Kiss tonight. Kiss.
Unfortunately, Charlie Tuna is no real Don Steele for me. It was all right. But my biggest thrill, though, was also having Michael Bell in here as Demarest, who, as I'm watching him, I kept thinking, he's dubbed. He's totally dubbed. And then I go, no, he's actually a voiceover artist. So every time he speaks, it sounds like someone is doing a voiceover. So he's mostly known to me as being the voice of Peter Criss in Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, but he was in, I don't know, hundreds, if not thousands of Hanna-Barbera cartoons. So his voice is very distinct. Now, Richard, tell us a little bit about your history with Rollercoaster, please.
I went and saw it when it came out. So I was there probably in June. I don't know if I saw it the weekend it came out. I might have. But I saw it with my brother and my cousins. I was 11 years old. It was one of the first grown-up movies I'd ever seen. It felt like I was ooh, I'm kind of leveling up. This isn't a Disney movie. This is for people older than me. But at the same time, it felt like it was also for me because it was about roller coasters and amusement parks, and I liked going to those. And so it was in the kid world, even though I wasn't quite a teenager. But I saw it with my older brother, my older cousins, and this movie, it blew me away. I was riveted and horrified the entire time. And part of it was the roller coaster of it all. But there's that other trope that is in this movie that I guess is in other movies, but it was the first time I saw it. And it was the scary guy on the other end of the phone, where in this movie, Timothy Bottoms is the character who actually never has a name, but he's the guy who is committing extortion against the owners of these various amusement parks across America by basically threatening acts of terrorism at the park that will naturally make people not want to go to the parks, because it's not just a matter of getting over your own personal fear of heights or things that go fast, roller coasters, things like that. Suddenly the thrills aren't just carnival thrills. Now you actually have to worry that you're going to die because someone put a bomb on the track. When the roller coaster car hits that damaged bit of track, you're all going to be killed. All of this stuff together had a big effect on me. And I've seen the movie so many times. And it's one of those movies that my brother and I continually say lines back and forth. Typically, it's Timothy Bottoms talking to George Segal saying, "You know what, Harry? I trust you." And stuff like that. I'm in one of those places with you guys like The Night Stalker where my sentimental attachment to the material is such that I can't really have an objective view of it. But I will say this. With The Night Stalker, I understand how people watching it now as full-grown adults go, this is not really high production values. I'm not seeing the best Hollywood had to offer, even at the time this was being made. Whereas when I watch Rollercoaster, and for me, like I said, I think it is a thriller. I don't think it is a disaster movie. I think it's a crime thriller. And for me, I think it holds up really well. As crazy as the concept is, I don't see that there's a lot of plot holes. I think the one that got mentioned is addressed within the movie when George Segal is the one who says, shut the park down. He's threatened the park. It's 4th of July. He's going to do something. Just shut the park down. And the guy who owns the park basically says, so then he hits us tomorrow or the next day. Or do you want us to shut down permanently? Which is totally true. It's like, we can't, just because there's a guy out there who blew up a roller coaster once, what are we supposed to do? Shut every amusement park in America forever? We're going to do our best to figure this out, and then we're going to go on with our lives. And it is that kind of Jaws, cynical 70s, commerce before public safety aura that it has. So anyway, and the final thing I will say, just about the way anyone approaches the movie, is we all have a different feeling about amusement parks. Some people love them. Some people really don't. And I think that has a lot to do with a general enjoyment of this film. If amusement parks are a place you want to spend a lot of time in a movie, you'll probably like this movie. If amusement parks aren't your thing, then the movie might be of less interest to you.
That brings up a question. So I know you talked a lot in your episode of Richard Hatem's Paranormal Bookshelf about your history with amusement parks. But Chris, I'm curious about you. What's your history?
I love theme parks. When I went to visit Richard last year, I took it upon myself to go to Universal Studios when I was there. Effectively, the free day that I had, I went to Universal Studios because I hadn't been there in a long time. So I love theme parks. I went to Universal Studios a lot growing up when we would visit my dad's family who lived in San Diego. So we would go up to LA to go to Universal Studios. And I went to Disneyland a fair amount as a kid, Disney World as well. And growing up in Dallas, we had the original Six Flags was in Arlington, which was like 45 minutes from my parents' house. So we went to Six Flags a lot growing up. I didn't get into roller coasters probably until I was either 16 or 17. And I rode the Titan that was the first roller coaster I ever rode on. And that's like the biggest roller coaster at Six Flags over Texas. It's a massive roller coaster. So I used to not be into like roller coasters and amusement parks, but as I've gotten older, I'm definitely more into roller coasters. I've always liked theme parks. I am inherently just a fan of theme parks. And obviously where Richard lives and where Richard grew up, it's theme park heaven essentially, because you can live in LA and then you can go to two of the finest theme parks in the country. But I'm a theme park guy, honestly. I think the thing that sucks in this day and age is how fucking absurdly expensive everything is now and how you can't afford to just go. It has to be a thing. I guess if you live in LA or if you live in Destin or Kissimmee or wherever the fuck, because Disney World is not technically in Orlando. So I don't know if, I guess, like, Richard, do you go to theme parks if you live in LA? Is that a thing? I guess Magic Mountain's a thing, which is a Six Flags place.
It breaks down like this. As a kid, you go, there was a handful of summers where my brother and my cousins, Jan and Rob, and I would hit all three every summer. So they're like, June, July, August, it would be divided up between Knott's Berry Farm, Disneyland, and Magic Mountain. And those were the three best days of the summer. And it lasted for a while. But then when I got into high school, I'd go with my friends. And the amusement park stuff, I would say for me, lasted till the end of high school. Then I didn't go for a while. And when I tried to go back, it was already too much. I couldn't handle it. I went back to, literally in my mid-20s, I went back to Magic Mountain and rode some of the rides. And I was just like, I can't take it anymore. I'm getting dizzy. I don't feel well. It's not fun. I'm out. In terms of like really challenging myself with roller coasters, that it's been 35 years. But then you have kids and then it starts all over again. And it's, okay, I guess we're doing Disneyland again. And then you're back into the Disneyland of it all. And Disneyland is an easy place to have a good time. You don't even have to go on rides. And even if you do, it can be Pirates of the Caribbean, which is fairly tame. You're not going to be vomiting. Let's put it that way. You're not there. Like Magic Mountain now really is like you're training for space travel. I don't know how anyone does it, but it's just bigger. But that park is easily 4 times the size of what it was when I went. And they've got 16 giant roller coasters, none of which I would ever get anywhere near.
For me, we have Cedar Point pretty close by. I would go down there once a year, maybe twice a year if I was lucky, during high school and maybe over the few years after that. Also, big fan of the local carnival scene. So we would have carnivals around here quite a bit when I was growing up. So those rickety rides that you never knew if they were going to throw you off or not. It was almost as good as having Timothy Bottoms planting a bomb on there. It reminded me of, was it The Fury or was it Scanners, where one of the guys like makes a disaster on a ride that's spinning around kind of thing with his mental powers. And I'm just like, yeah, that reminds me of carnivals. But going to Cedar Point was a lot of fun, and they just kept upping the ante every single year. There would be a new ride and the new thing that you need to do. But their line management was for shit. That was the thing that I liked the most about Universal, was how they made the line part of the ride. And I think Cedar Point could learn a lot from that, because otherwise you're just standing out in the heat. And eventually they would put in like little stations with spitting out water kind of thing. You'd be like, oh, a cool breeze for 2 seconds, and then I have to move up in the line. Not my favorite thing now. I can't even remember the last time I went to an amusement park. I'm probably way too fat for an amusement park these days and need to slim down so I can fit inside of some of those lines. I'm definitely tall enough, but too wide for them.
Mike is not a 5 foot tall man or 4.5 foot tall man. Excuse me, sir.
It must be this tall to ride this ride.
Disney, I think, set the standard for experience management.
The queue line, actually putting some forethought and theming into the queue. Disney is the kings of that. I'd actually say Universal's better than Disney now, me personally, but
And Universal took their cue from Disney. And there's obviously a whole industry of theme parks, and that's their business. But Disney really did a great job of figuring out really just how to get people on and off the ride and how to time and how many cars do you need so that the efficiency was always running at a height. There is a way you're supposed to experience Disneyland. There is a pattern where it's, okay, ideally, here's how you would experience Disneyland. You would walk down Main Street, you would cut to the left, and you would travel from Adventureland, Frontierland, all the way through, and then circle all the way around, almost through time to Tomorrowland, back down Main Street, out the door. Thank you very much for stopping by. And in a crazy way, they've had enough forethought to decide this will be the best way to experience the park. I don't think it really works anymore because they've added on Toontown. Now they've got the Star Wars land. So now it really is more of a buffet. You can't really do everything at Disneyland in one day. But I was obsessed. Now here's the interesting thing with my kids, my son Dashiell, who's now 18, his best friend Murray from childhood was obsessed with roller coasters. And he and his brother went on a trip to Europe this summer, just the two of them, to experience all the roller coasters of Europe. They researched them. They went to all these parks. And it's not just a passive hobby. I think both he and his brother have considered or might be pursuing careers in theme park design, Imagineering, really throwing in with it. So the adolescent male's obsession with theme parks and roller coasters is still alive in the youth of today.
So let's talk about roller coaster. And the more you talk about it, the more I feel like, for me, it does hit thriller. It does hit disaster movie. But like you were saying, it reminds me of a ransom film. It reminds me of, rather than they're trying to save a kid, they're trying to save this ride, or they're trying to save people's lives, but there is no kid someplace. There's no proof of life. But the whole big chunk of this movie takes place at one park where they have Timothy Bottoms on the phone, or walkie-talkie in this case, and they've got George Segal, and he's just making him do all of these things and taking him from ride to ride and just running him through the paces, running him ragged pretty much. That feels so much so many of the ransom films that we've seen in the past, where you just have the person, no, you're going to go to this place. No, you got to make the drop over here. No, you got to make the drop over there. That takes up, I would say, the majority of this film.
That is the setting of the second act of the film. And it reminds me, in a lot of ways, both movies, it reminds me of Dirty Harry.
I can see that. Yeah, very Scorpio.
It's very Scorpio, and it's very much about a cat and mouse between two people. And yes, there's a larger structure of law enforcement in the case of both, but it really comes down to a bad guy getting his eyes on the good guy and going, I'm doing crimes, but I'm fucking with you specifically. This is now down to us. And that's very much a part of Rollercoaster. It's this guy and what's his psychology and how to figure it out. And I just want to really quickly say that I love how by this unknown guy picking out Harry Calder, which is George Segal's character, and focusing on him and communicating solely with him engenders the suspicion of all other law enforcement. It's just, what exactly is this relationship you have with this guy? In fact, Richard Widmark has that great line, I'm getting damn tired of your misplaced admiration.
And that's how Harry eventually solves which roller coaster he's going to be bombing for the third act. Is, hey, I was the one that inspected this roller coaster 3 months ago. It's public record. He knows me. He's going to be doing this. It's not going to be Coney Island. They make a mention of a Detroit theme park, and I went and I looked it up, and I was like, I don't think that ever existed. I really don't. Like, I forgot all about this until right now. We had Boblo Island, which was a little island between Detroit and Canada. And you would take a boat, the Boblo boat, over to it, and then you would spend the day at the amusement park. So we had that for the longest time as well, and I completely forgot about that one.
Take a one-day island holiday. Take some friends, the children too. Take Take a Pablo Island holiday. Just walking here's fun, no need to hurry. Take a one-day island holiday. On Pablo Island. So close to you. On
Pablo Island, because one day away's so good for you.
For the listener who is now half an hour into the podcast but hasn't seen the movie, just very quickly to give you a sense of the structure and kind of what the movie is. In the first 15 minutes of the movie, there is what I still feel is such a horrific sequence where we're watching, and it, as Chris said, it's all suspense, and we're watching what seems to be a guy watching a roller coaster. Anyway, we come to understand that a guy has dressed as a maintenance man at a seaside mid to lower level kind of carnival ocean park sort of place. And he's put a bomb on the roller coaster and then he set it off. So now what we have is a roller coaster on its journey heading toward a damaged part of the track. And so now we're watching that, and that is our suspense. But what happens is this car, of course, this little train of cars hits that. And now you see people flying off the roller coaster. You see the roller coaster flipping over, hitting the ground, people screaming. It's horrific. Without being bloody, without doing any of the things you could and would do if you made the movie today, it is viscerally shocking because it's all practical effects. In fact, one of those guys, I think the African-American actor who I think was like playing a uniformed officer or something, he's a stuntman, as many of those actors were, and he actually got injured. People got injured in this stunt, and you're not surprised. Anyway, that is so horrifying that really the rest of the movie is youth being afraid you're going to see that again. And that's what propels you. And in the middle of the movie, you understand, oh, okay, so what he's doing is this is extortion. He's now reached out to the owner-operators of all of these parks and said, I want $1 million. I want money. You pay me the money. I won't do this anymore. It's as simple as that. So let's do business. And the middle of the movie is trying to pull that off and catch him at the same time. He gets away with the money, even though a team of FBI agents done everything they can. But this guy is really smart, which also makes it scary and interesting. He gets the money, but they've marked the money, and now he's pissed. And the third act is basically, okay, you know what? Fuck you. I'm going to blow up another roller coaster. I'm not looking for money now. Now I'm going to give you another demonstration of how much smarter I am than you, and people are going to die, and it's your fault. I will not be calling you again. Click. And the third act of the movie is, where's he going to strike? How do we stop him? And the third act takes place at Magic Mountain in Los Angeles.
And what separates this movie from just a run-of-the-mill, this feels like it could have been a TV movie. Even with the level of violence, this PG level of violence, I wish they would have had an R-rated cut where we saw a little bit more gory of a death for Timothy Bottom's character. But what separates this out is that these characters are so well drawn. You don't ever know that much about Timothy Bottoms' character, which I appreciate, but you do get those little hints. Like you're saying, he's super smart, or you get the feeling by him being this marksman at the amusement park, and the guy who's running the ride is, oh, hey, I was in this unit in the Marines. And you're just like, okay, this is 1977. This could very easily be a Vietnam vet. This could be another Travis Bickle if we were going that way. But he doesn't have that creep factor, though he is a creep. But then you get the whole thing with George Segal, and he is freaking amazing. This whole thing of him trying to quit smoking through the entire movie.
That scene at the beginning of the movie, man. He'd be dead. He'd just be fucking dead from the amount of cigarettes he smoked in that room. There is a such thing as nicotine poisoning. Like, he would just be like, how you doing in there? Just dead. He'd look like that thing in Beetlejuice. Hey, got a light?
It's basically he's doing like a cat's eye thing from that Stephen King story where he's got the electricity just flowing through him as he's trying to do avoidance therapy. And Yeah, it is very intense. But yeah, through the rest of the movie, he's, no, I don't smoke, or hey, do you have a light? And there's different moments where he either wants a cigarette or doesn't want a cigarette. And then also the whole thing with his wife, and especially when he visits his house, that he misses his house, that drives right past it because he's so concerned about other things, comes back, comes in, and there's that guy reading the paper, eating his breakfast, and he's,
How do you like the robe?
Just fine, thanks. Yours?
Birthday present.
he almost feels like a Walter Matthau character. It almost feels like the laughing policeman.
Exactly. It's very 70s cynical, just a little bit of character stuff. It was before the era where we had to know what demon, he was fighting, and that by defeating the terrorist, he would be redeeming himself from being kicked off the force. It was just like, no, he's a guy who works a job. This is the milieu within which he works. These are the kinds of people he meets. And here's a little bit about his life. He's divorced. He has a daughter, shared custody. He's got a new girlfriend. That's all you need to know. And it's George Segal, and it's great.
And I love how antagonistic he is to his own boss, to Henry Fonda. He's just like, basically like, you go take care of this problem. I don't want to be bothered. He's like, well, it's one that you inspected. Yeah, I could give a shit. What the fuck? It's like, well, it's my wife's anniversary. We're out to dinner. He's like, yeah, I don't care.
He says, Harry, it's my anniversary. And Harry says, so take your wife. It's that 70s cop, cynical, funny. It is. It could have been a Walter Matthau movie because, again, it's also not about two guys throwing punches. It was from that era where no one works out. All these guys look like they've never seen the inside of a gym, and it's just, and it's fine. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. I was just complaining the other day about the film Patriot Games, and just that throughout so much of the movie, it is Harrison Ford figuring things out. But then the whole movie ends with a fucking fist fight on a boat kind of thing. And it's just like, no, Jack Ryan should be figuring things out like George Segal in this movie, figuring stuff out. Let somebody else take this guy away, or let somebody else chase him up onto the roller coaster so that he's going to get hit by the car kind of thing. Like, we shouldn't have George Segal and Timothy Bottoms having a fist fight down on the ground someplace, or up above the world, in the loop kind of thing. Like, no, we don't need that. It ends the way it needs to end.
The energy of that third act is watching an incredibly controlled, in control chess master who has always been 3 steps ahead, one by one, getting the pegs kicked out from under him, starting to lose his shit, but still figuring out a way. No, I'm still going to win. I'm still going to win. But George Segal won't stop and is smart and keeps figuring out ways to be just half a step ahead in this moment. For Timothy Bottom's character to end up on those tracks, which seems so bizarre, but he's been shot, he's running, he's a wounded animal. And they do figure out a way to do my favorite kind of ending, which is the bad guy is hoist upon his own petard. If you can get him to be killed, in other words, like in the movie Speed, if they could have just run that bus directly into Dennis Hopper, that would have been the greatest movie of all time.
Segal just doesn't give a shit. Like, when he's talking with Bottoms, he's just openly antagonizing him the whole time. There's one part where he's just like, yeah, screw you. And I'm like, oh, yes, this is great. Like, he's not trying to like, oh, well, what's your motivation? And, oh, were you hurt when you were a child? Or what's your relationship with your mother or something? He just doesn't give a shit. He's just like, I could be doing so many better things right now. Yeah, he hangs up on him a couple times.
He's like, then find yourself another messenger boy. And he hangs up, and the guy calls back, and he's like, Harry.
And when he calls him at night, he's just like, what the hell, man? I'm trying to sleep. Okay.
Harry, I'm very upset with you. They marked that money. They didn't tell me. I mean, it's just so the dialogue. I mean, I don't know. It's all just having seen the movie 5,000 times, but also it is a movie written by guys who built machines. Their scripts were machines. It's like, okay, let's give our hero the smartest bad guy in the world. And now let's make the hero uniquely positioned to go to battle with him, as it were. And I think George Segal is a shabby detective.
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure that this is just Columbo.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
We see his family, yeah, but sure, we never see Columbo's family. And George Segal's better dressed.
He doesn't figure it out within the first 5 minutes, and then is just playing with Timothy Bottoms for the rest of the film.
No, but I'm talking about the character that he's playing is Columbo-esque. Yeah, the structure of this is, completely different.
And Columbo has gone through those times where he was trying to quit smoking.
Again, for the listener, let me tell you, George Segal's character is not an FBI agent. He's not a cop of any sort. He's an inspector. He literally works for the Department of safety and planning or something. I mean, he's an engineer, I think. I mean,
he's an everyman more than like any everyman we've seen in most of these.
Yeah, he literally he goes to him. He's almost like an insurance guy. He goes to the amusement parks, checks out the rides, makes sure they're up to code, and then signs off on them. And so he's brought in as one of 6 or 7 people when the roller coaster collapses at Ocean Park in the first act of the movie. He's brought in because it's like, well, we're bringing in everybody. We're bringing in the guy who works at the park. We're bringing in the guy from the county who has to sign off. We're bringing in the insurance guy. We're bringing in the cops. We're bringing in everybody to figure out, does anyone have any idea what happened here? And all we're really seeing is that Harry Calder is a smart guy who can think on his feet, is not constrained by law enforcement thinking. And because he's got that latitude, he's able to kind of hook into what this guy is trying to do. He understands that it's personal and that this guy is angry. And certainly in the third act, he's able to go, okay, look, here's what he's going to want. He's going to want to make a big splash. This is the debut of a big roller coaster. It's already getting a lot of publicity. I'm the one who said it's safe. He dumps on me at the same time. They go to the park. It's like, okay, if he had a bomb, where would he put it? And he's the one who says, well, as it's coming off the loop, that's where you get maximum velocity. And then they're like, well, what are we supposed to do? Shut the ride down? If he's here, he'll see it. He'll blow the guys all over the park. And Harry Calder's the one who says, bunting. Why don't you send your bomb squad up there, but have them wrap, red, white, and blue bunting on the railing. It'll just look like they're construction guys. And it won't draw the attention. And that's what they do. And they find the bomb and they defuse it. And Timothy Bottoms sees it anyway. And he gets back on the ride and he plants another bomb in the car this time. And it's just like, oh my God, is this ever going to end? So anyway, and all the while, Sparks.
The longest version of one Sparks song ever. They just keep saying it, playing the chorus over and over again. Could have been Kiss, but that's a whole different movie. The thing that I loved was that Segal is the one that figures out that there's this meeting, and he doesn't even know that there's a meeting. He figures out that these amusement park guys are all meeting at a same place, and he's the one that comes in and kind of pushes his way into the door right after Bottoms has just planted a bug in the room. So Bottoms is aware of this stuff, but then Segal starts to figure out oh, well, who's the owner of this park? Who's the owner of that park? And then puts that together, figures out they're all meeting at the same place and goes there. And like I said, forces his way in. And they're like, yeah, let this guy stick around. And he's the one who figures out so much more than everybody else.
Right. And it's so funny because then that's the moment. And it really is fun because there's a number of moments where Harry Calder walks right past Timothy Bottoms, but of course has no idea who he is, and it does.
They walk past him in the lobby of the hotel.
Lobby of the hotel,
sitting there, on the seat, and they just walk right past him.
Yeah. He's looking at the newspaper, and the fun thing is that we pan past him once and don't see him, and then the second time when we're following in the same shot, we're following Harry Calder back. We come to rest on him, and we're like, oh shit, he's right there. There's a lot of oh shit, he's right there moments where it's very almost Hitchcockian, where it's like, oh God, it's like there's a snake in the room and no one sees the snake. The snake will hurt you any second now. For a movie that does not go on then to show further carnage, they do keep a level of suspense and a level of threat that is fairly creative. I mean, I love the moment where he's on the walkie-talkie on the he's on the the sky buckets. And Timothy Bottoms says, Harry, Would you like to know where the bomb is? You're holding it. And Segal looks at the walkie-talkie in his hand, and it's such a great reaction. He literally looks like he's holding a tarantula in his hand.
Between Outside the Cinema and me actually seeing this movie, I read Steve Gutenberg's autobiography, The Gutenberg Bible, and he tells a great story about his work in here because he's only got one line, but it was such a big deal. And he's like, I'm going to be in the same room with Richard Widmark and Henry Fonda. And yes, you are. And it was the same guy who I mentioned before, Michael Bell, who kind of was, I think it was a friend of the family. So he was like looking out for him. And so pretty much got him this role, I believe. So yeah, it's like he kept fucking up the one line that he had. And I think they were messing with him on it. It's been a while since I've read this. So I'm like trying to find.
Oh, that's the worst. Oh God. That's the nightmare, is that you get one shot and you're so worried about blowing it that you can't stop blowing it. Watching the movie as a kid, the Sensurround thing, I don't know. That did not add or subtract from the movie. It was like, okay, the soundtrack is loud. But watching it on TV, this is one of those things where when they finally did show it on television, I put my tape recorder with the cassette tape right up by the TV and recorded the entire movie and then would listen to it, during the summer. Yeah, I mean, I was one of those. As I also did with The Night Stalker. I also tape recorded all the episodes that I could and then listened to those.
So Michael Bell was Steve Gutenberg's godfather. And so he goes in and he meets Harry Gardino. There we are. Sorry.
Gardino, yeah.
Gardino laughed and put out his hand. Oh, my, first time. He took a drag from his cigarette. You're going to do great. He turned to Richard Widmark. Dick, this kid's a first timer. Be nice to him. Widmark goes, I don't like first timers. My smile froze at a crooked angle. Did he just say that? Michael's smile was frozen too. Harry started to stammer. I don't like first timers, Widmark growled again and walked over. He grabbed my hand. I love him. And he broke into a gigantic smile and his eyes danced.
God damn it.
There's a whole chapter of his book dedicated to his work, his one line on Rollercoaster. But for him, it was a seminal moment. So I kind of love it.
That's what you want. That's what you want to believe, that these movies in the 70s with all these dudes, you want to believe, because back then, I think all these guys were half embarrassed that they made their living as an actor. That, they're from a generation where people were going off to war and, really, struggling. And they're like, I don't know, I feel kind of self-conscious about the fact that I get limoed to the set, and there was always a lot of kind of shunning the glamour of working in certain aspects of show business and all, like weirdly like shame. So the fact that there was hazing and that these guys were trying to, fuck with each other and drink on set, it all makes sense. And man, I think I was born too late in this business.
I don't know how Sparks got cast as the band for the amusement park, but it is so delightful to see them. And especially to see Ron Mael with his whole shtick of, I do not smile, I do not interact, until he gets up and throws the piano bench that he sat.
It does create a weird other level of paranoia in the third act. It's like, but who are these guys and why flash pots going off?
Oh yeah. Well, I love that freak out when they have the flash pot go off and you think it's the bomb that the guy's trying to defuse. You think it's the bomb that the guy's trying to defuse, and then boom, and you realize, oh no, that's from the Sparks show. Okay. All right. And yeah, Russell Mael, as opposed to his brother, is like the quintessential rock star with the long hair and just whirling dervish up on stage. And meanwhile, his brother's there, like puts his arms up on the piano at one point, just like waiting for his time to play. Just looks like the most disinterested guy in the entire world.
I know. It was weird. I didn't even know they were a real band for the longest time. And then when I found out, I'm like, oh, wow. So of course I have both Filler Up and Big Boy on constant rotation, all my playlists.
And a great score by Lalo Schifrin as well, which is nice. And there's also a fake out at the beginning because you've got Timothy Bottoms out on this dock and he's fishing and he's got these binoculars and he's got the Lalo Schifrin playing, and it kind of goes in time with some of the cuts that are happening and some of the things that are happening on screen. And then you cut and it's him on the ride setting stuff up. And it's like, how did he get from one place to the other? And they don't really answer that, but it's kind of a nice freak out because you're like, oh, he's looking at this worker from the way that it's shot. And then no, he's actually the worker up on that roller coaster.
Yeah. And it is one of those things where retroactively you're like, okay, I get it. He's watching it. Now we're on a different day. He's up there because later on you find out it's like, wait a second, Wayne, when did you check out the roller coaster? And he's like, well, same 1 solid hour from 8 to 9, like I do every morning. And Calder says, well, the old guy outside who sweeps up popcorn says he saw you up there at 2 hours later. Were you up there 2 hours later? And the guy's like, no, which is sort of, so it's the first clue of, wait a second, something's not adding up. And then the other guy's like, look, don't listen to Benny. Guy, he's an old man, he talks to his wife a lot. Eric Calder goes, when did she die? He was never married.
It was kind of nice for me, Chris, seeing Wayne Tippett show up after we just talked about him last week, as he was the Amish guy or the Salem witch guy who kidnapped that woman and brought her back to medieval times. And then, the guy that played Benny also in Jack and a whole bunch of other stuff. He was a great, great character actor.
Everyone in this movie feels like someone you have seen somewhere else, and you have. I'm obsessed with this movie. It's my weird little private obsession because no one knows the movie. No one gives a shit about the movie, right? Okay, so years go by. I finally get my first big job. Well, second big job. I wrote a TV pilot and they got picked up to series. Biggest thing. I'm like, this is amazing. Hire a writing staff. It's our first day in the room. We're all just kind of talking, just trying to get used to each other. And there's this woman who's part of a writing team. Her name is Chris Levinson. And at a certain point, she says, my dad's name is also Richard, and he's also a writer. I'm like, who's your dad? She goes, Richard Levinson. And I go, Levinson and Link? Your dad wrote my favorite movie, Rollercoaster. And she bursts out laughing. She's like, I've met a lot of people who are fans of my dad and his work. It's never Rollercoaster. It's Ellery Queen. It's Murder, She Wrote. It's Columbo. I'm like, I'm obsessed with that movie. And she's like, really? I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, this is weird. But on Sunday at Magic Mountain, they're going to screen it. Okay, there's this organization called the American Coaster Enthusiasts, ACE, and it's the 25th anniversary of the movie, and they're going to have a screening at Magic Mountain to celebrate this thing. And I'm like, I would give anything. And she's like, you know what? We'll figure this out. You're going to go. I can make this happen. Unfortunately, her dad had passed away, but William Link, was basically her uncle, her dad's writing partner. She's like, let me call Bill and we'll get this all set up. 2 days later, I'm at Magic Mountain in this sort of parking lot, arena tent thing they've set up. They're screening the movie. I'm now watching Rollercoaster at Magic Mountain with all the roller coasters going, just 100 yards to my right. And they come out and they say, okay, so we actually have one of the stars of Rollercoaster here tonight. And as a way to raise money for the American Coaster Enthusiasts, we're going to offer a very special opportunity. And they bring out Timothy Bottoms. And they're like, okay, we're going to auction off the opportunity to ride the revolution with the unknown man. And at that moment, I'm like, I don't care if I go into debt for the rest of my life. This is happening. It is happening. I win the auction.
Was it more or less than you thought it
Yeah,
would be?
what was the price?
Less. It was less.
I don't know, that price not important, but is it more? Is it shockingly less?
No. It was several $100s, but I'm like, in my mind,
That's
I'm like,
a lot less than I thought it would be.
I'm like, I'll do $5,000. I'll do whatever I have to do. It was, less than $1,000, put it that way. So 20 minutes later, I find myself standing like I'm in the movie, standing at the Revolution on the loading dock with the terrorist from Rollercoaster. I start telling him how much the movie means to me and how important, how insane this moment is. And I swear to God, he is looking at me like, buddy, do you ever get laid? I'm freaking out. They put us on the roller coaster. They take pictures. I've got a whole thing right here on the wall. Chris, you saw it when you came over, didn't you?
I believe so, yeah.
The bars come down and we ride the Revolution. And never in my life would I ever have imagined when I was a kid that one day I would be on that roller coaster with that guy. It was surreal. One of the greatest days of my life. It really was a bizarro kind of insanely happy moment. So there you go, kids. Sometimes your mad bomber on a roller coaster dreams do come true.
I have no personal connection to this movie other than I tried to interview George Segal many, many times because he's in California Split with Mr. Gould. And I would still love to have talked to him about that because California Split's a fucking amazing film.
Okay. So here's who I met. Obviously when I knew I was going to go to this event, I brought the copy of the script that I already owned. Timothy Bottoms signed it and William Link signed it. But years later, there was a screening at the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? And I had heard that they were promoting that George Segal would be there and would do a little bit of a talkback afterwards. So I brought my script. Before the movie started, I saw where he was sitting. He was right over there. And I just went up to him and like, Mr. Segal, I'm so glad you're here. I'm such a fan of yours. I've got a script from one of the films you were in that is my favorite of all your movies. Can I ask you to sign it? And he looks at me and he's like, do you have a pen? Yes. I hand him the pen. He opens it up, sees the word roller coaster, looks at it, looks at me, looks back down, looks back at me and goes, it was a good one, wasn't it? Signs his name right up there. And then a few years later, they're having another screening there. Oh, Dirty Harry. And I find out that Lalo Schifrin's going to be there. Bring the same goddamn script, go up to Lalo Schifrin. I'm like, one of my favorite scores you ever did. He looks at the script, looks at me, looks back down, sees that George Segal has signed it, Timothy Bottoms, William Link. He's like, impressive. And then he signs it. I mean, I wish I could have gotten everyone else. If I ever see Helen Hunt, believe me, I know what I'm going to say to her.
Yeah, you still get Big Stevie G. He's still kicking it.
You can get Craig Wasson to sign it, Steve Guttenberg.
Yeah, why didn't you get Sparks to sign the script?
Yeah.
For you?
The Males brothers are still
Is
around.
Susan Strasberg alive?
I think Susan Strasberg's with us.
I still haven't met these. If you can hook me up with any of these people, I will be very thankful.
Richard is trying to make the quintessential piece of roller coaster fan memorabilia.
I know. Like there's no, like Henry Fonda and Richard Widmark were already dead. Harry Gardino, I'm sure, was dead.
Yeah, but you could probably get like cut signatures of theirs pretty easily.
Oh, yeah.
Who's going out of their way to get a Richard Widmark signature? $15 on eBay, baby.
Got to track down Gutenberg, got to track down Helen Hunt. And again, Susan Strasberg, is she still with us?
Well, you need that Sanford Shelton and Tommy Cook signature as well while you're at it.
Do these people exist? Are they even actual people? Burton Wall, who wrote the novelization.
I know Dorothy Tristan passed away a few years ago. She was married to director John Hancock.
Bruce French passed away earlier this year, and he was in it for a minute. He's one of the dudes out on the diffuser dudes.
What about Oriental Woman?
I don't know if Oriental Woman is still with us.
Is that Oriental Woman or Oriental Woman's mannequin? Because you mentioned the beginning of the movie. I actually watched this movie with some friends of mine yesterday, And we were just enamored by the first 10 minutes of the movie because those mannequins are, what's the word? Something else. Not bad, but definitely it was fun. It made it unintentionally funny. There's that moment where you see everybody flying out, like the real people flying out. And then it cuts away and then it cuts back to, the thing falling over and just a bunch of mannequin heads like getting crunched in half or being like, flipped over. Like, again, suspend the disbelief, obviously, for a minute and realize it would be horrible if it actually happened. But the mannequins do make it a little funny. Like,
You're sort of in the middle of this and you're like, whoa, shit. So it's happening and we're seeing it happen and they're crashing through the sign and people are hitting the ground and people are screaming. And then, you see that one car just go, and flip over onto its top. And you're just like, oh, but that's gotta hurt. And then it was literally years later on my 15th viewing that I'm like, are those mannequins?
I was going to say that Final Destination 3 is the only other like big roller coaster specific thing that I can think of right out of hand, because that's the beginning of Final Destination 3 that's the one with the roller coaster opening. Like all the Final Destination movies are known for their openings, and that's the one where I think it's Mary Elizabeth Winstead and her friends are on the roller coaster and it starts coming apart and one of them falls and gets cut in half by the roller coaster and they get eviscerated because it's Final Destination. People are essentially being turned into blood bags and exploding. Yeah. Again, like you look at something like this and if they could have gone further, they might have. Maybe they didn't for any particular reason. But I think to y'all's point, like I wish it had gone a little further. Might have made the stakes a little bit more. Like I always felt like this. I watched this movie 2 times, and the second time I watched it, I was just like, there don't seem to be a lot of stakes here.
Well, it's weird. It's like the stakes are, how do you feel when you're on a roller coaster, right? It's not like, oh my God, there's going to be a bomb's going to wipe out Washington, D.C. It's like, ooh, how creepy to think that you'd be on a roller coaster and then you die on a roller coaster.
It's a very specific problem that's going on. That's why I was making the joke of I don't get killed by a roller coaster. Don't get on a roller coaster. That's simple enough.
Only way to win. Don't play. There's this one shot in that second act sequence at King's Dominion where Harry Calder is on the roller coaster and you're thinking, is he going to like kill him? And you're sort of in the point of view of the roller coaster. And then as it's going over this one sort of like arcing around before it goes down, the camera just cuts off to the right and sort of dips down. And you're in the point of view and you totally think like, oh shit, are we going off? And then the camera just continues and turns around. And it's almost just like now it's a drone shot of the roller coaster and the camera's in midair. I still don't know how they did this shot, but it's so effective. I mean, everyone in the theater gasps when, again, you think you're in the point of view of the people riding and then it just sort of tilts off to the side and goes down and you're like, oh fuck, we're dead.
I haven't seen roller coaster shots that good since Brain Scan, the Natalie Wood film. I thought that they did a great job with that, and I would have loved to have seen that in Sensurround and just get that roar of the roller coaster, because that's something that is so visceral that it just really would be effective. I do have some good news and bad news. Susan Strasberg is passed away, but Michael Bell is still with us. As a voiceover artist, he is still working. He just did a voice on Star Wars Tales of the Underworld. He's continuing to work like crazy, as most voiceover artists do.
Well, good for him. Do you have his phone number?
No, but I can probably find it for you if you need that. So if you need to give him a call. So
since I'm not wasting my time writing for television, all my free time is going to go to hunting down the living cast members of Roller Coaster, getting their signatures, and then murdering them.
I was going to say, Richard, you could always just write the next great roller coaster movie. The world needs another theme park disaster movie. What, Beverly Hills Cop 3?
When it's already been done perfectly, what's the point?
Because theme park culture is so different now that I think that there would probably be an interesting movie still to tell here that would be... I think if you were to do this now, you'd almost have part of the component of it would have to be like trapping the people there, like holding them hostage. So that's a component of it. The people can't leave. There has to be like, because like, how do you make this? How would you do this movie now? Is honestly the thing. I've been kicking that around in my head this whole time. Like, is this a movie that almost is anachronistic? Like you couldn't do it anymore? Like so many of those episodes of Seinfeld where it's, if they had just had a cell phone, they would have known that they were going to be late for that Chinese dinner that they left. Okay, like problem of crisis averted.
Once you understand that the movie is really about the cat and mouse between the two characters, then you can redo it. In a weird way, you can't make the roller coaster an even bigger, because you're right. It's like, well, what is he going to do? Force people to get on a roller coaster? And it's like, no.
That's why I was saying, like, hold people hostage. So much of this is the people just got on the roller coaster. And that's it. It could just happen. It's like the Tylenol killer. He's like the Unabomber. It's just random. Like, he's not BTK. It's not, hey, if you're a blonde woman in Wichita, Kansas, don't go out late at night. This is just don't go on a roller coaster. To give you an idea, my mom would never go on a roller coaster. So for her watching this movie, she'd be like, am I going to get on a roller coaster? There you go.
In the 70s, there was a wave of hijackings. Okay. Now, people still flew because they had business trips and they had family members and holidays and things they had to go do. But in the back of your mind, beyond, oh my gosh, what if a plane crashes? Now people were worried, what if you get hijacked? And that became a part of our culture. And there were, jokes about it on sitcoms. Now, this never becomes a,
hey, hi, Jack. And then the guy tackles him.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, in the movie, we're never necessarily in the point of view of the general public. It's not like people we're not cutting to news reports saying, beware this holiday, 4th of July, there's a man planting bombs. You're just like, oh, this whole drama is taking place backstage. And meanwhile, all these people are it's summer of 1976. It's almost like, again, like Jaws, like we're just trying to enjoy ourselves in the summer and we're unaware that just out of our purview, there's a real danger that we're not even aware of, which is what makes it so poignant and so great, is because you're just like, well, that's me. I'm just like those people. I would just be going thinking I'm going to have a good time and not knowing that a huge disaster might take place. Because even when you get on an airplane, you kind of know that something could happen. But most people going to an amusement park aren't literally worried that they're going to die. Not literally. So anyway, what's always been interesting to me and what still is that relationship. And if you can come up with a way, I mean, look, the modern version is Hans and John McClane.
It also reminds me of another thing where it's one guy talking to another guy on the phone. Cellular, that movie with Chris Evans and I believe and Statham, I believe, is in that one. And then what's the other one with the old 24 man? Kiefer, but he's like unbilled in the movie. Phone Booth. It reminds me of Phone Booth a little bit, where it's just like the back and forth. To be fair, you guys mentioned Dirty Harry. There's also a little, it could be Zodiac if they didn't show him. If we didn't see Timothy Bottoms throughout the whole movie, but it was like here you go. Here's what you do. Don't show us Timothy Bottoms ever until the end of the movie. And then have it be that moment where we as the audience and George Segal realize at the same time that this guy getting off the ride is now, in fact, Timothy Bottoms. And in that moment, we just see shots of a hand placing something. But again, we know the machinations are taking place, but we don't know who it is. I think that might have actually helped a little bit because again, and here's the other thing, Timothy Bottoms' character is so underwritten when he's not talking that he almost doesn't even need to be on screen. The voice on the other end of the phone.
The tragedy of loving a mid film is that there will never be a book, The Making of Rollercoaster,
Richard, what are you doing? We know, hey, Otto Bruno wrote a book all about Barney Miller because there was no book about Barney Miller.
Well, I mean, again, I'm 50 years late.
I've written a lot about middling things. I mean, a lot of all the work that I did on Airplane 2, guys, come on.
This man was doing Airplane 2 commentary before he was invited to do the Airplane 2 commentary, Richard. You can manifest your dreams.
I want to read the book. I don't want to necessarily write the book.
No one else is going to write the book, pal. I think that's kind of your first problem there.
You know, this whole interaction I had with Chris Levinson was, you know, getting on to 25 years ago. I know that William Link is no longer alive, and yet it would have been great to hear some firsthand stories about the development of the script and whether, as they were building this mystery, they ever considered, well, what if we never see him? What if it is we're locked in one point of view and we never meet them until he figures out here's the voice, and then suddenly we reveal, and why that changed, or was it never? Were they like, no, we already decided there was another movie that did that and we didn't want to do that, so we did it this other way? I don't know. There's always a million reasons why this stuff plays out the way it does. Some of it is purely artistic intent. It's like we had a vision, we pursued our vision. And then just as often it's like, well, no, we were told we had to do it a particular way, or they had Timothy Bottoms under contract, so we suddenly thought, oh, wait a second, he's an interesting actor. You know what? Well, let's actually use him, and if we're going to use him, let's actually put him into the movie. So I don't know. I wish I did.
I guess I've never been one to think that your performance, and again, like maybe this is me and the irony and of the medium that we're using now, but I've never felt that a performance must be completely constrained by the physical. You can have a good performance in voice alone. In spoken dialogue, no physical movement along with it. And again, the movies we've mentioned, actually, I think the bigger problem would have been in 77, if you're going to do that, Timothy Bottoms probably isn't a big enough name. He's not a big enough. We couldn't get Orson, so Timothy Bottoms. Here's the thing. If you're going to do the voice thing, you notice the people that I've mentioned in those other movies. Cellular has Jason Statham on the other end of the line. Phone Booth has Kiefer Sutherland. Like, those two voices alone, like, again, like, you can hear those voices in your head without, like, very little prompting because they're so well known. And so maybe that's what it is on top of everything else. That could be part of it.
And then you get Skeet Ulrich doing, hello, Sydney. Oh, wait, no, that wasn't actually him.
Yeah, intentionally in that one. No, Roger Williamson or whatever that guy's name is has been making a living off of that, thank God, since. So good for him.
There was a lot of Rollercoaster in my mind when I was writing that scene in Mothman Prophecies where Indrid Cold calls up John Klein and they engage in that weird sort of, you know, can you read my mind? What's happening here? Can you see what I'm doing? That sort of paranoid, what is this voice on the other end of the line and how much power does it have? I mean, and look, a lot of this goes back simply to a different era when the landline phone was the most sophisticated piece of communication technology we had. And in the 70s, it certainly was. There was a bit of magic to the idea that you could pick up a phone and be talking to somebody in New York or Hawaii or London. It might take some effort, but you could do it. And there was a lot of emotion attached to that. Often the best and worst moments of your life would come via a landline phone. Relationships would end. You'd be informed of someone's death. You'd be informed of someone's birth. You'd be informed that you got the job. I mean, the number of people who spent hours, quote unquote, waiting for the phone to ring, that's not a metaphor. You waited, because if you weren't at home, you were fucked. And if your phone didn't reach into the bathroom, you were double fucked. You know, the power that instrument had in your life at that time was something you didn't really think about until it ended. And you look back and go, wow, that was an emotional appliance in my house, far more emotional than the microwave.
I would love to see somebody doing something like this now. Again, like not remaking this, but again, like a cat and mouse over the phone movie. It's been a while since we've had something like that. And I think, to your point, Richard, And now that you say it, like in Mothman, yeah, there's, again, the Zodiac of it all, like the taunting of the police and that kind of like the needling. Again, one of the things that sticks with me from Zodiac is, hey, Blue Pig, when Zodiac is talking about the cops, the San Francisco cops. I love that because, again, like that's, for me, that's an opportunity to like to get the stakes and just crank them and really crank them up. And also give us an idea of the best villains are the ones that they like, don't give us everything, but give us just enough. Give us just enough. Not everything, but give us just enough.
The phone booth was the MacGuffin in a way for the sequence in Dirty Harry, where Scorpio was like, okay, I got to make sure I'm meeting just with you and not with the whole police department. So I'm literally going to physically run you from phone booth to phone booth. If you don't pick up that phone and I don't hear your voice, the girl dies. And so he is really the puppet master as Clint Eastwood is running up and down hills in San Francisco, trying to, keep this guy on the hook long enough to save this kidnapped woman's life. So it is very dramatic. And like you said, it's the kind of thing that doesn't really work now. There really aren't phone booths anymore. So that doesn't exist. But if you look back, there's so many great phone booth moments in movies. One of my favorite is American Werewolf in London. It's a movie I love, but one of the most unexpectedly moving moments is when, he's in London and he calls his family. And it's late in the movie and he's turning into a werewolf and he's pretty much decided that he's going to have to off himself. And he just calls up and talks to his younger sister. And he doesn't say anything other than, I just wanted to say hi. And, you be good. Tell mom, oh, mom's not around. Oh, we'll tell her I love her. And he knows it's the last conversation he'll ever have with them. And it's in the middle of I think, Trafalgar Square. It's a very busy area of downtown London. And he's crammed into a phone booth. And it's incredibly moving. And I don't think it would be as cool on a cell phone. No. The time of 77 when this movie came out, and especially we talked about, Richard, you were talking about being born in the industry too late. There's something that's hard. You can't replicate this time anymore. The closest analog we have now are those movies where it's like, I'm going to sit in front of my computer.
Oh, like Ice Cube?
The War of the World, yeah. Look at those aliens out there. Man, that's the easiest $20 million you ever made, huh? Unfriended or stuff like that, where it's like we're utilizing, now we have to lean into the technology and the interconnectedness of it all. So we're going to have it be a movie about people on Skype as opposed to, it's just, okay, fine.
Yeah. What's that movie with John Cho? Was that Unfriended?
Oh, Disappeared or Vanished or something. I like how much of this movie is, again, I like the cat and mouse part of this movie quite a bit because that leans into the things that I like. Again, mentioning something like Zodiac, obviously, or Dirty Harry. But yeah, there is that, just again, the novelty nature of it is the part where I'm like, okay, that's the 70s of it, which I'm fine with. Again, when I was, like I said, I was watching it with some friends of mine yesterday, and my friend was like, did I read that right? Is this about a bomb on a roller coaster? And I was like, yeah, in fact, it is. That is, in fact, what it is about. And he was like, huh, that's weird. And I was like, all right, I know it's weird, but I like the weirdness of it. It is just, again, my rational brain is hard to get over that hump. But I'm glad that you like this, Richard, a lot. I'm glad that you were a champion of this movie because I think, like our friend Ryan Verrill says, every movie is somebody's favorite movie, and this is one of yours, clearly. More so than most things I've ever heard you talk about, other than Kolchak, really. Like, genuinely. No, it's not weird. I like Freaked. Freaked is just some fucking random movie that exists out in the world. I go to bat for it.
Well, that's what's so fun about it is that, things hit you, and it has to do a lot of times with your age. Usually it's, kind of when you're younger in your life, you discover these things. But I will say this, having this conversation, I'm suddenly dying to see Dirty Harry again. We should find a way to talk about Dirty Harry somehow, because that is a fucking cool movie.
Andrew Robinson is just so amazing in that movie, and he's just so great overall. I talked with him a few years ago around Charlie Varick, and he's so awesome in that, and he's just a really nice guy too. I talked to him about everything other than Star Trek's Deep Space Nine. I talked a little bit about Hellraiser, yeah.
With the chains in his face, jeez, and he licks his lips. Oh my God. Commits. That man commits to the bit. Yeah, if you ever want to talk Dirty Harry, I didn't do Dirty Harry earlier this year. I did Magnum Force with Father Malone, which is like that's the second one.
Well, there's Magnum Force, The Enforcer, which I think is the one with Tyne Daly, and then the fourth. Then is the fourth one Sudden Impact, and the fifth one's Deadpool, and yeah, okay.
And I think that was one of those where it was, we have a script and we could easily change it into a Dirty Harry script.
Speaking of Final Destination, speaking of Hellraiser, like, Jesus, past the fucking third one, it sure as fuck is.
I will tell you guys, and this doesn't, for the listener, you can go back, but I will tell you that the episode of Richard Hatem's Paranormal Bookshelf that comes out on Friday, listen to it for a Dirty Harry story. A totally true Dirty Harry story that you've never heard before.
Well, on that note, let's go ahead and wrap up the Shabby Detective. When we come back next month, we are going to be talking about another Levinson and Link joint. Oddly, no Peter Falk between the break here, just all Levinson and Link. We are going to be talking about
Martin Balsam in The Storyteller.
Chris, what are you working on these days?
I'm working on podcasts. I have over 600 episodes of the Culture Cast, almost 700 at this point. You can find that over at weirdingwaymedia.com, where you can find this show and so many other shows, including the Kolchak tapes, which Richard was on with us for a little bit. And that's actually how we became friends with Richard. He heard us and was like, these guys like Kolchak. I must be friends with them. And here we are, folks. Yeah, that's where you can find me and everything that I work on. What about you, Richard Hatem?
You can find me at Richard Hatem's Paranormal Bookshelf, wherever you get your podcasts.
As for me, same thing as Chris, weirdingwaymedia.com, where you can go back and listen to all the Kolchak tapes. You can go on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/projection booth or patreon.com/culturecast and get your fill of us talking all about James Bond. Going to have to figure out what we're going to do here, fellas, in like 8 months when we're done with the Bond films, unless MGM and Amazon suddenly get their shit together and actually put out another James Bond movie. But I doubt that's going to happen anytime soon.
Shaking, so am I. If you don't run, it's suicide. Big boy, big boy. My name is David, he don't care. He's never nice, he's never scared. Big boy, big boy. Big boy comes around, throws his weight around, throws our girls around, leaves without a sound. Big boy, big boy. He's well equipped, the girls are sure. Is that a guess or something more? Big boy, big boy. We're bored to tears until he comes, and then we're crying 'cause he's come. Big boy, big boy. except the sound of my mind. And the sound from outside stands around down at the bottom, sensible to instant. And the wild first spoke to me in Sensurround. If Mom had known she was expecting, she might have gone to see Jaws. Instead of picking the film where the sound effects came right up to the floor. And I'd be differently formed, Sensurround down at the bottom, sensible to instant. And the wild first spoke to me in Sensurround. Accidentally in a coal mine it was found. When I accidentally dug too far down and found the Sensurround. I still don't know who conceived it or where they got the idea, but there it was anyhow by the exit sign. A wolf covered in wood to shake the room and it should. Sensurround down at the bottom, sensible to instant. Make the fakeness realistic when the action went ballistic. 1 degree shot out sadistic, and the wild first spoke to me in Sensurround. I think I know what they'd be. Down there waiting for me. Sensurround down at the bottom, sensible to instant. Make the fakeness realistic.